Okay.
All right, we're back in session, and this time we will be discussing the Mississippi Headwaters Habitat Corridor Project, the Indian Jack Edition. So Tim Terrell and Will Cooksey will be presenting. Good morning, Tim.
Good morning.
Is Will on the line?
He is.
There he is.
Good afternoon. Good morning, Chairman and members of the board. My name's Tim Terrell, and I'm the Executive Director of the Mississippi Headwaters Board. I'm here today with Will Cooksey from the Trust for Public Land via Microsoft Teams, and we have a parcel here to present to you today. As part of our process developed by 8 county commissioners from 8 different counties, we are here just to present and ask you if you think this is a good deal moving forward. It's through consensus generally, and if you decide that, we will, the partnership will move forward, discuss with the landowner, and do some work, and then come back for a final county board decision. So there's some information in your packet, as you can see, and I will turn it over to Will Cooksey to talk a little bit more about this project. Thank you.
Good morning, Will Cooksey, Senior Project Manager with the Trust for Public Land. Thanks, Tim. Mr. Chair and Commissioners, our mission at the Trust for Public Land is to create parks and protect land for people, ensuring healthy, livable communities for generations to come. And in pursuit of our mission, TPL is a proud member of the Mississippi Headwaters Habitat Corridor Project, a partnership involving the Mississippi Headwaters Board, the Board of Water and Soil Resources, and the Trust for Public Land. This partnership seeks to preserve the Mississippi Headwaters Corridor in part by targeting strategic fee title land acquisitions of high quality and priority properties. To date, this partnership has permanently protected 31 miles of shoreline across the 8-county geography. This morning, we seek to inform the county of our desire to initiate due diligence necessary to protect 35 acres of Mississippi River shoreline property. With the county's support, TPL would purchase this property using legacy funding we have through the partnership, and then donate the property to the Minnesota DNR, who would manage the property as part of the Indian Jack Lake Wildlife Management Area, forever open to the public for hunting, fishing, and other outdoor pursuits. Before jumping into the parcel specifics, I want to give a short overview of wildlife management areas, or WMAs, which are the backbone to DNR's wildlife management efforts and are key to protecting wildlife habitat for future generations, providing citizens with opportunities for hunting, fishing, and wildlife watching, and promoting important wildlife-based tourism in the state. This property is located in Perry Township, roughly 5 miles north of Crosby on County Road 11, just east of the Highway 6 intersection, and in an area of Crow Wing County that is seeing significant growth and national attention for its outdoor recreation opportunities. The property's attributes are as follows. Again, it's approximately 35 acres. It would make protection of this property would make accessible over a 1/4 mile of river frontage. It would provide excellent connectivity to Indian Jack Lake WMA and block up the WMA on the southeast side and protect the WMA from encroachment. The property has good diversity of tree species, so supporting a diversity of wildlife habitat. And interestingly, and unique to this property, I think, is it has real potential for hunter walking trails and other features that could be designed for outdoorsmen and outdoor women with limited mobility, and that's principally due to the to the accessibility of the property from County Road 11, as well as the fairly uniform topography, upland, all the way to the river. The project would be, if conveyed to the DNR, would be revenue positive for the county. The tax revenue currently is roughly $418. The PILT estimate is roughly 2.5 times that amount, the initial PILT payment, at a little over $1,000. That's the initial rate. And then when, after a period of time, that rate, as you know, is modified, and if that PILT payment based on today's assessed value would be roughly $800, so nearly 2 times the tax revenue. So with that overview and intent of TPL through this partnership, I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions, Commissioner Franzine?
On the map, there's a green area. Who is that owned by now?
The green area, that is Indian Jack Lake Wildlife Management Area. That is a property that this partnership, this embodiment of the partnership, protected back in 2018, and it's owned and managed by the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources. And so the intent with this acquisition is to acquire this privately held property to the southeast and have that be owned and managed by the Wildlife Division of DNR.
Okay, who is the parcel that's outlined in red owned by now? I know you want to acquire it, but who owns it at this point?
It is it's a private individual, private couple. Their last name is McNelly, Paul and Sue McNelly. Prior to their acquisition, I believe they acquired the property from Potlatch.
Okay. Now, did you approach them or did they come to you? I just wondered how we got to this point.
Sure. Commissioner, Mr. Chair, it's my understanding TPL did not approach this landowner. They were brought to our attention through the partnership. There is a fee acquisition component of the partnership, and there is a conservation easement component. And I believe our partner who does the conservation easements had conversations with this landowner, and they were not interested in a conservation easement. They were interested in an outright sale of the property, and the legacy of protecting a permanent protection is also very important to them.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hogue?
Did you say that the current revenue, which I'm assuming you refer to as the property tax, is only $400 a year based on 35 acres on the river?
Yes.
That seems pretty reasonable. And is there a home on this property?
There is not a home. In the handout, you can see a cleared area in the northeast corner. The current owners have a temporary shelter located there. The intent would be to remove that prior to acquisition, but there's no permanent home on the property currently.
Commissioner Coring, any questions?
No, Mr. Chairman, no questions at all. Thank you.
Any other questions? And so what you're looking for today, Tim, is a consensus to move forward with this.
Correct.
So I'll just ask then, Commissioner Franzine?
Yeah, I think that sounds okay. I am looking, though, at some properties to see, because I agree with Doug that this seems like an awfully low property tax assessment.
Okay,
So I'm just trying to look up some of these. I know somebody who lives on the river.
okay. Commissioner Hogue?
Well, again, I would want to verify that because I just find it pretty pretty low, but as I look at the growth in this area, and I understand if it is indeed the property owners that are wishing to preserve this land, if that is the intent, but I look at the opportunity to a 35-acre riverfront parcel that potentially could be divided into 3 or 4 lots and home sites that would generate a heck of a lot more tax revenue for the county and township than what $1,000 a year would be. So again, I understand the reason we do this, but at what point do we have to say enough is enough and look at what the best opportunity for that property is for the people of Crow Wing County? And this is one of those that I believe would be a high desired piece of property for a couple homes, and again, making a bigger impact to the tax revenue than what we would be doing here. So I would want to research that a little bit more and just to verify the numbers and before I could commit either way, I guess.
Commissioner Brecken?
I would agree with the Commissioner Francine and Commissioner Hogue in regards to, I think there's a little more homework here we need to do so that we really have our documentation prepared. I think it is really important, too, to know what the current landowners' intentions are.
Commissioner Coring?
No, I don't favor it.
So it sounds like we have 3 question marks, a no, and
Sure.
it would be a question mark at this point, too. I think we would like to have a little more information. I think that's the consensus of the board at this point.
We'll do some homework on where that number came for property tax value. In the meantime, you could look at a range of assessment homes, if what that is, if you want to, and what the cost of services to run out there would be, and do a full, if you choose to do an assessment on that. Homes are definitely, at the macro level, seem very attractive until you start finding out how much it costs to run services, and sometimes that's an individual thing. But for right now, at this point in time, I would say that it's revenue positive for the county, but we will definitely come back to you and verify our number where we came up with that, unless Will could verify that number right now.
Based on my research, that's the correct number, and
That's the one I was looking at.
it is the landowner's intent to create a conservation legacy here through the addition of this property to the Indian Jack Wildlife Management Area, and we have been, this partnership, we have been very focused and targeted, and you can see with our conservation priorities, and you can see the obvious connectivity and benefit of this parcel to an existing management union.
I know as a member of the MHB board that this would be a very good acquisition myself. I do understand the hesitation of the other commissioners at this point. So I think that, is there a time constraint on this, Mr. Cooksey?
The landowners have been patient. I would like from this point to be provided the opportunity to move forward with my due diligence and come back to the county with definition around the revenue and around PILT to be able to get your vote.
Okay, and so Commissioner Coring has said that he does not wish to go forward with that. So the other 4 commissioners, listening to Mr. Cooksey, is that?
If he wants an answer now that we're saying that he can go forward, then I'm also a no.
Then, I'm sorry.
If he wants an answer that says that he can go forward right now, I'm also a no. We don't have enough information.
But if he's willing to come back with more information, then...
I think we need to get our own information. I think we need to
Okay.
do some research on our end.
Yeah, if I just look real quick, and I got to verify, but I show taxes of over $2,000 on that parcel as it sits today. So again, I think your $400
Yeah.
is quite off. So that's the information that I would need to see as well. Maybe have we? Do you typically go to the local township boards as well and present? Have we got input from Perry Lake?
The partnership, goes to the county first. That's the arrangement in this conservation partnership program. We are here before you at the outset as at the initial step to obtain your perspective.
Mr. Brecken?
I think at this point, we need more information.
All right.
And I understand the patience of the landowners, and we appreciate that. But I do think that if we're going to get a consensus, we need to have that additional information, and we'll do that through our tax department and land services and figure out that information, and then we'll get back to you,
Great.
Tim and Mr. Cooksey.
And I would like to add, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, if I did make an error in the, which it appears that I did on the current tax revenue, it is my sincerest apologies. That was an oversight and a mistake on my part, looking at some incorrect information. And so I will research that immediately and respond accordingly.
And of course, the other thing, I think it's probably well known, this board typically, we single out user groups with these type of acquisitions. And I know that, again, you list the allowable uses, but motorized vehicles, for instance, is not one of them. So as we continue, and I can't remember which one we had just recently, again, which we made a little headway on, I believe, on a no net gain type. But is that correct, that this would be not allowed for motorized use?
WMAs are managed principally for the benefit of wildlife and habitat. I mentioned the intent in working with the DNR to provide some features that are accessible to those that are have mobility issues or limited mobility, and the WMA would be, through a permitting system, would be open to those that require the use of motorized vehicles to go and access the property.
That's the entire acreage if this were to be added to it? Or just this 35 acres?
So it's my understanding that WMAs generally allow that type of access through a permitting system for those qualifying individuals. And additionally, on this area, the plan is to consider and explore ways to make the property more accessible to those individuals with limited mobility.
Do you know if the existing area allows that today?
Allows
For
sorry,
that
can you
permit
clarify?
for the motorized use for those individuals that, so we're adding 35 acres to how many acres that are already in this? Is that area already permitted for a motorized use for individuals?
So based on my understanding of the management of WMAs generally, is that they can be accessed by through a permitting system, they can be accessed by individuals that qualify to obtain those permits using mobility aids, which can be motorized.
So that's a case-by-case type permit.
It's a permit that's granted to an individual, to a qualifying individual. Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Okay, so I think that we'll go back and the board will do their due diligence with the Land Services Department, and then we'll give you further direction.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Cooksey.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Simonson.
Good morning, Mr. Chair,
The
Commissioners.
utility easement request by Daniel and Kimberly Ellis for the Perry Lake Township.
Yes, so we have an easement request from the Ellises in Perry Lake Township. We granted the Ellises an easement back in 2013 along that purple outline shown on the map. And the Ellises also granted the county a reciprocal easement across their property. They own that island to the north, and then they also own the property on the southwest corner of Perry Lake there. And so back at that time, that was just a private access easement for ingress and egress. They now plan to build up on that north parcel and are requesting a utility easement to run utilities along that path. I estimated the easement fee to be approximately $2,300 based on the land value within the easement area, plus the recording fee of $46. That's just an estimate. And there's a couple of questions here. I think number one is the county willing to grant an easement, a utility easement along that same path as the access easement? And if so, would we charge the full easement fee or possibly a reduced fee? I know I believe Kurt Porter, the attorney representing the Ellises, is on the call, and I think that's one of their questions is we got the access easement years ago, paid the easement fee, and then now requesting the utility easement, would they pay the additional fee as well?
So it would all be within that 33-foot corridor, correct?
Correct. I believe the easement area would be the exact same for this utility easement. And I don't know if Kurt is on the call, if he wants to add anything.
I am on the call. Can the council board hear me?
We can.
Thank you. I don't know that I really could say it much better myself. Thank you very much for that recitation of the facts. I mean, this is a situation where this access easement, again, was granted back in 2013. The request here is, as stated, pretty simply just to allow for a utility easement to run the same path that we already have an access easement over. And it would be the request of the Ellises that the county board, at the very least, give some due consideration to a reduced fee in light of the fact that we, just requested and received this access easement, not quite even 7 years ago, or just a little beyond 7 years ago, and probably had to pay a fee back then. We, of course, are at the the council or the board's committee here, or mercy here on that issue. But considering that, had that application also requested utilities at that time, all of this probably would have been lumped into one fee. We would request that the board consider that. If there are any questions, we are of course happy to answer them. I do have Mr. Ellis here who could provide detailed responses if there's any questions about the nature of it. But as stated, it is the intention of the Ellises to develop that northern parcel and put a cabin up there.
So this is above ground, not underground utilities that are going in?
I'm not sure. Mr. Porter?
Go ahead.
This is Dan Ellis, the commission. I met with Crow Wing County Power, and their recommendation is to take that underground.
Okay. So it'll still look like, once you get it in place, it's going to still look like a 33-foot wide easement in there. No poles or electrical lines hanging down or anything, correct?
That's correct.
Questions from other board members? Commissioner Coring?
Mr. Chairman, just a question. So let's say we could back up to 2013 and they came in for an easement and they also wanted to include a utilities easement. How much more would that easement have been then? And how much are we asking, or how much are we charging them now? Can you understand my question?
Yep, thank you. Brian?
Commissioner Coring, Mr. Chair, I believe, I'm not sure what the original fee was for the easement back then, but it essentially would be double the cost. The easement fees are the same for private easements or utility easements. It's just the cost of the land value within the easement area.
But in theory, we already captured that land value
Correct.
with the original easement.
Correct.
Yes. And how much was that? We don't have that written down?
I don't have the cost of the original easement in front of me.
But you mentioned the 2,300, Ryan. Is that today's cost?
Correct. That'd be today's estimate.
Administrator Houle.
Mr. Chair, I want to make sure that we've answered Commissioner Coring's question as directly as we can. Would there have been an additional charge to the Ellises at the time that they got the initial easement if they had also added a request for a utility easement? Would there have been an additional charge?
I believe that would be, I would have to look into that further. I haven't had that situation come up. We've never had a private ingress, egress, and utility easement request at the same time that I'm aware of. So we would have to discuss that with attorney or county board.
It's hard to imagine that once you have captured the property value of the easement, that you would capture it twice.
Commissioner Coring.
Yeah, thank you, Tim Houle, for helping me get my question answered. And I guess I don't have a problem with granting them the easement for the utilities. I mean, they could have just as well done that at the same time as the land easement was granted. But I guess I wish you had the numbers where you were prepared to give us the numbers just for my information so I could make a more informed decision so that you knew how much it was and you knew how much it would be if we added on the utilities easement. I wish you knew those numbers, but I think that would be helpful to me. But and then Mr. Chairman, you also said it too. As long as Crow Wing Power is going to bury it, and we don't have to have a 66-foot easement where the trees are worried about trees falling on the line. As long as it's buried right down the road, I don't see what the issue is. But hopefully, Ryan, next time, I'm not scolding you or anything, but I wish you'd have the numbers just in case somebody has those questions next time. So thanks.
Commissioners?
So Ryan, are you saying that if this were to be in today's world, that somebody came in with an easement request that included both the actual easement itself plus utilities, that there are two charges or just one?
That would be a new discussion. We would have to discuss, are we going to waive one of the fees?
So that hasn't been a request that we're,
Hasn't happened yet. Yeah, surprisingly.
yeah.
I've reached out to other counties. Some counties include in their private easements ingress, egress, and utilities. So that way, if they decide later to add utilities, it's already in there and they can do that without coming again for a request. I gave this to our county attorney to review, Rocky, and the feedback was that we should keep our easements separate. And the fee question is a matter of county board, whether to reduce the fee or eliminate it if there's two easements.
So by keeping it separate, we're talking about the access, and then we're talking about utility, and we have a fee that addresses access.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, we don't have anything addressing utilities. So at this point, would we not say then that there is no fee to that, and maybe in the future, we look at some kind of a fee attached to that easement? But in this case, it would be acceptable to not charge, since we don't have a fee for that?
I think that's correct, Mr. Chair. We have the same fee for access and utility easements, which is the land value within the easement area. And so we already have set fees for new requests. So in this case, $2,100 an acre in Perry Lake, that's what we use within the easement area. And then so that's our typical process. Then the decision here today could be, well, do we waive that since they already have the access easement? Some other counties, they stack fees right up on top of the other. So a private easement and a utility easement would get the full fee charged for the access and the utilities. So
It seemed to make sense to me that we have a policy that we set that addresses, like the one county, which puts it all in one basket, one fee, and makes it much cleaner, much simpler for the individual. But looking at what we currently have, I'm not sure, I don't see that it's fair to charge twice for something that's already been addressed, would be my viewpoint. I would much rather see us, if we have to use the term waive, which I'm not in favor of that because we don't have anything to address it. You say it's a new request, but we haven't separated. Well, I guess in fact you're saying that we have separated the two types of easements. And, however, they've already paid for that access easement, so I struggle with charging a second fee for that. That's just where I sit. Commissioner Coring, do you have a viewpoint on that?
Well, I guess going forward, I'd like to know what the fees are or what we're going to charge. But obviously, they want us to make a decision today. They've got the access agreement. And so as long as they're just going to go down the same 33 feet, I guess I don't see the reason why to charge them. But what would happen if this is a hypothetical? Let's say they had property and they had access to another road, but it made more sense for them to, and it would be less expensive for them to get a utilities access across county land. We'd have to have a fee for that at the time, wouldn't we?
Well, I think, Commissioner Coring, we could always determine what's the definition of our easements, first of all. Are they tied together? Is it just one bundle, or do we separate them? And there is two separate charges, but we don't currently have that on the books. And I think that's valid to say that we need to establish that. And to your point, today we're faced with this particular situation, and I think that's where I come to my conclusion.
I'm fine with the utility easement at no charge.
Okay. Other concerns, questions?
No, I don't have any other concerns, but we really don't have to make a decision today because this has to be put on the county board agenda.
Right.
And you'll bring more information to the county board, and then we can make our decision.
Correct. I can bring the cost of the original easement, and then we can have more information for the board meeting.
Okay. So,
Yeah, I just think in the future, if we've got two easements, one utility and one just access, I don't know that necessarily having the same charge for each is fair. You know, there could be a small increase for utility, but I don't know that it has to match the actual easement itself. So, but in this case, because we really don't have anything, you know, in our ordinance that spells it out, I'm okay with the easement at no cost or minimal fee.
so if you'll bring us that additional information, Commissioner Franzine.
And I don't know if this fits into the workshop we're going to have with the Planning and Zoning Board, but could we discuss this there, or is this something that has to be discussed someplace else?
I'm not familiar with that workshop.
Oh, okay, well, Gary knows about it.
Sure.
Mr.
Yes.
Another question. I just thought, you know, in drafting this utility easement, aren't we going to have some county staff time involved in that? I mean, shouldn't we at least have our cost of our staff covered on that minimally? Does that make sense? Ryan, do we have staff costs to put this easement together or not?
Yes, Commissioner Coring, we do. We could track those, and then we could charge staff time plus the $46 recording fee. That's an option.
You know, I think Commissioner Coring, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Wouldn't that, I mean, that they at least cover the cost of it?
That would certainly be a consideration that we should take when we decide how we're going to handle these situations in the future. I think that's a piece of information that you could probably bring back to us when we address this issue, and we can decide how we will handle it.
Okay.
I think it's a valid point, though, Commissioner Coring, and to look at. And if we decide that we have one fee for the access and some type of additional fee for the utility, we break those two apart in the future, then that would be very pertinent information to have at that point. So,
My question, are we giving the applicant enough to move forward with today, or what was the intent of just bringing this to today's meeting?
Generally, all easement requests they go to a committee of the whole first, and then if things are favorable, proceed to county
So I
board.
guess my question would be if they've got enough information to either move forward or hold off. I don't know if that's, you know, a fair request for the applicant.
Sure.
I believe that there's a consensus that we're supportive of this, but we just don't know.
I would say or move forward on my account, so.
and likewise for the chair,
Yeah, so
Commissioner
I just,
Hoag, Commissioner Franzine, Commissioner Brecken. So yes, let's move forward.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Any other business from the commissioners? And if not, we'll close our committee of the whole meeting. Thank you very much.